All right. Welcome to the Born to Succeed podcast with Michael and Elisa Merritt. We have a very special guest today, Miss Dee Dee Cox. Her list is so long, guys. I could tell you it would take me about 20 minutes to read her bio between being an author, a romance author, many books out. She's got the three C's: compassion and caring and kindness. And she's just a lady that's very, very special. And so we're so blessed to have her on the podcast with us today because she's just going to share some words of wisdom and love and passion, which she has all over. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Miss Dee Dee. How are you doing, ma'am?
Well, we're in the snow and we're in the ice and we're holding on like a hair on a biscuit, just blowing in the wind, waiting for the next storm to come through Kentucky and hoping that we all survive, we all maintain electricity, we all stay warm, and we all stay safe and hunkered down. So I guess we're doing okay.
Good, good. Well, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself because you are in pageants, you've got fur baby things going on, you're an author, multiple books. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Dee Dee, for those that are listening so they can get a little bit more about you.
Well, I was born and raised in Rooster Run, Kentucky. I was born on a farm, not like in the hospital or whatever, but born on the farm. And
Right.
my grandfather, we did dairy cows, we did tobacco. And then when he delivered the milk, he delivered the moonshine in the old brown paper bag, except we didn't know that's what it was. We just thought it was kind of cool to be riding with him, and traveling to wherever. And sure enough, he was very well known in our community. And, liquor put food on the table, clothes on our backs, so, and I don't drink. That's how I got my nickname. I'm the designated driver. I'm the DD. So I'll take great care of you.
Right. That's great.
We grew up on a farm. So, that was the whole big background. And then when I was old enough to drive, and she never had a driver's license, she could actually have a horse and buggy. She knew how to drive a horse and buggy. But she would always, after church on Sundays, she would go visiting. She'd go tooling about, and we would deliver hankies to the men. And then we would deliver washcloths, or like the tablecloths or whatever, not tablecloths, those things in the kitchen that you dry your dishes and stuff with dishcloth. And she would deliver those to the women, and we would deliver buttered pies. And that became my thing with her, was that special time to deliver to folk that were in need. And she would always ask, what do you need? Is everything okay? Do you need food? And
she was her own little helping hands.
and she taught me those three C's that I mention all the time: kindness, caring, and compassion. And I looked at her, kindness doesn't begin with a C. And she said, no, but I captured your attention, and that's what you're to do. And so she fed me a lot of good scripture verses. And one of them was Acts 20:35. And I mentioned that in all my books and all my charity events. It's better to give than to receive. And it makes you feel good, makes your heart feel good.
Right.
So, and then later on, as time goes and you go to high school and you get married. I married my best friend from high school. We did not date, but I married my best friend. And it took us a little bit of a while to have a child. We could only have one child. And during that time frame was how, at the age of 30, I wrote the first book, because here's what I wanted. Y'all remember Fabio? Remember Fabio he was on the boat. He always had the sword up and his hair was blowing in the wind.
Right.
I just wanted him to ride past me on a beach, serve me sweet tea, and that's all I wanted. Nothing else.
And
that's all I wanted.
You your son, right?
And so little did I know that I would create my own Fabio, or my own Fabio. So because his middle name is Bo, so they've hashtagged him that. They've hashtagged him the next Fabio or Fabio. But you think about all those things back in your youth, and what you did and what you read and who influenced you, and to bring it forward, because it took us such a long time to have a child and to figure out what was taking place. When I had him, I was very mature.
Right.
So that put the writing on the back burner, because, when you have a child, or when you're trying to have a child and then you do have the child, so many things take place and your priorities go in different directions.
Yeah,
They all
you don't
divide.
sweat the small, you don't sweat the small stuff anymore, for real.
And baby, there's a lot of small stuff we're sweating and we don't need to be.
There is, for sure.
So,
Yes.
you know, when you're at that age, when you're in your 30s, you think you've conquered the world. You really haven't, you know,
Right.
but you think you have. And I had him, and so I put everything on the back burner. And then I don't know what made me pick it back up, but I thought to myself, you know, he's in college. My husband and I are going to be left alone, you know, empty nesters. And I want to write. I want to do at least one romance book. That's all I wanted.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And so I went back to where I was at the age of 30 writing that book. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, you know, what the hey, you might as well just go ahead and finish it. You know, if anybody buys it, that's great. If nobody buys it, you did it. You know, you
Right.
accomplished what you wanted to do. You finished a book. And
Right.
I reached out to a very dear friend who had done a children's book. And I asked her who the publisher was. And so that began the whole whirlwind of becoming a romance author. And, you know, the really cool thing is God has such a great sense of humor, such a wonderful
Yeah.
sense of humor.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, in that book, I had Logan and Grace as the two main characters. Well, the young girl, hold on. So look, the young girl on the book, her name is Logan Grace. And I had never met her when I wrote the book. She hadn't even been born yet, and neither had my son. And so I
Right.
can tell you how funny God is by putting her on a
Yes.
book with my son. They're best friends. They don't date. No dating.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So that became the first book. And I was a published author at the age of 56. So
That's
ain't that a whooping?
awesome.
Isn't that pretty cool?
That's awesome. Yeah. Like when,
Yes.
you know, when we were younger, we think, oh gosh, 50, that's old, you know. Well, approaching 50, I'm thinking, shoot, I still feel like I'm 30. I mean, my body might not sometimes, but in my mind, I'm like, I still have a whole nother life to live. Can do anything I want to do starting today, right? Every
Absolutely.
day.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you wrote your first book, and then did that get the bug going, and you're like, oh, I'm ready to write another book now, or what happened after that?
When I wrote the first book, I didn't know how it would be received, but it was received very well. Now, y'all know that you're going to have the negative naysayers, and you're going to have the folk that say, oh, I can't believe you did that. Or, you know, you're old,
Right.
you're not going to be able to do anymore. You're just, what is it called when they say, oh, she's just a one-timer, a one-hit wonder. Ooh,
Yeah.
a one-hit wonder, which was really cool.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and so I thought, you know, I talked to Michael with Beyond Publishing, my publisher, and I said, I want to write more. And so he said, let's do a 2-degree series. He said, your son's in nursing school. Let's just do all these series based on all these doctors, you know, whatever you want to come up with, you know, the theme and the little ideas. And I was like, okay. So after the 2 Degrees, 1 Heart, I went and I did The Perfect Christmas because it's actually named after the doctor.
That's what we have right here.
Because
Yeah.
everybody wants to correct it. You know, they say, do you know you spelled Christmas wrong? Yes, I know I spelled Christmas wrong. You know,
Right.
I did it for a particular purpose. And
Right.
so this book was the second book. And from there, you know, it just kind of trickled. You know, God opens a lot of doors. I banged my head a lot against those doors.
Right.
I had migraines.
Right.
And, you know, he's like, just open the door. Just stop fretting. You know, stop worrying. You know, I got you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I did 3 more books.
That's what I was going to say. And then you just kept going, right? And you didn't
kept
listen
going.
to those
So,
limiting
like,
beliefs.
you have, look, so then you did 2 Degrees Hotter. And somebody said, Alyssa, they said, look at his hair. That's not real. I said, it is too.
Right.
That's his real hair.
Right.
And there's
it's
not
awesome.
extensions. There's no extensions in it. So yes, that's his real hair. And you know how I know that is because I'm his mama. You know,
Right. Because, you know, like back in the day, in the 80s, you know, there wasn't hair bands and hair. I mean, our thing was hair in the 80s, right? And probably that's when Fabio was